Everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Monday afternoon. Today is May this actually it's Tuesday afternoon. I'm just so used to saying it's Monday afternoon. It is May the 17th, and you're probably wondering why we didn't meet yesterday, but we were off busy having a baby. So baby Leah has joined us. She's at the hospital with her mommy right now, and by next week you'll all get to meet her. If you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, you can thank Restream.io, the website I use to broadcast multiple platforms at the same time. This is Scriptural Salvation Baptist Tabernacle. My name is Andy. Welcome to my living room. Right in front of me, we have Richard and Paul, and Steve is off to my left. To my right are Grace and Hannah. Jacob and the dog are off camera. My wife Liz is, like I said, at the hospital with our new baby. Her name is Leah. We're gonna Leah Willow. Leah Willow. Yeah.
Leo.
I know. I was trying to say it, and I said Leah Willow. So we're gonna jump right in with our first song. We want to see Jesus lifted high. Okay. Oh, actually, Richard, can you hit the button on there, the Windows button for me? Can you reach it? Do you know which one you hit?
Nope, got it.
Okay.
Hurry up.
There.
Ice time. Really?
Not right now,
Now?
Paul. Paul, come back and sit.
I'm hungry, Daddy.
Here.
It's not
Have a sip of
hungry.
water.
Water
Sit down.
time.
All right. I need to hit it
Gosh. So it starts immediately.
No, it doesn't. Paul, you don't know the song. Why is it? Why is this not working? That's not.
Want me to hit it again?
I don't know what's happening. Well, we'll go back to that song in a second. I'm going to try to. I don't know why it did that. I tried to play our PowerPoint and it just stopped. Okay. Okay. Of course, we have to have issues. Why wouldn't we? Now, Richard, hit the button.
It's at number 2.
All right. Now, let's see if that makes a difference. Richard, you're going to have to hit it again. There we go. Hopefully this works this time. might see the truth and know that He is the way to heaven. We wanna see Jesus lifted high, a banner that flies across this land. That all men might see the truth and know that He is the way to heaven. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. Those are the motions this song. Reason. We wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see Jesus lifted high, a banner that flies across this land. That all men might see the truth and know He is the way to heaven. We wanna see Jesus lifted high, a banner that flies across this land. That all men might see the truth and know He is the way to heaven. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. Step by step, we're moving forward, little by little, taking ground. Everywhere, a powerful weapon, strongholds gone, tumbling down and down and down and down. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see, we wanna see, we wanna see Jesus lifted high. We wanna see. Alright, just keeps on doing that for a few more minutes. Well, at least that time it worked. And now we are going to get right into our lesson. Continuing on in the book of Genesis. All right. Hopefully this one doesn't crash too.
Ski boy.
Please. What?
I saw this earlier, so yeah, and I
don't
know
think
why
it's
it
doing
says a skateboard because it means taking them
But it'll make you feel better, yeah. Okay. It's doing the same thing. Yep.
No, no, it crashed.
Yep. Ah.
Want me to?
Yep. Hit the button.
Is this just gonna be me hitting this button weak?
Well, practice.
It's not practice.
All
It's
right.
just
Paul,
pain.
Paul, come back and sit down. Paul.
But
You're okay.
it's time.
No,
Paul,
it's not.
Okay. Richard, hit the button. I have to share this.
Okay, we need to turn you
Richard
on
Daniel.
to press the button.
Richard Daniel. Okay. Grace, we're gonna need you. Like right now. Not then. Now.
Jeez.
Ready?
To you, O Lord, I call, my rock. Be not deaf to me, lest if you be silent to me, I become like those who go down to the pit.
Very good.
Hear the voice of my pleas for mercy, when I cry to you for help, when I lift up my hands toward you, toward your most holy sanctuary.
Sanctuary. Yep, that's a tough word if you don't know what it is. All right.
Do not drag me off with the wicked, with the workers of evil, who speak peace with their neighbors while evil is in their hearts.
Oh, give to them according to their work and according to the evil of their
Deeds.
Give to them according to the work of their hands.
Render.
Render them their due reward.
Yep.
There you go. Because they do not regard the works of the Lord or the work of his hands, he will tear them down and build them up no more.
Blessed be the Lord, for he has heard the voice of my
Please.
pleas for mercy. The Lord is my strength and my shield. In him my heart trusts, and I am helped. My heart exults, and with my song I give thanks to him.
Very good.
The Lord is the strength of his people. He is the saving refuge of his anointed.
Yes.
O save your people and bless your heritage. Be their shepherd and carry them forever.
Oh,
And everybody, this is the new baby sister of the family, Leah Willow Knopka. She was born yesterday at 1:22 p.m. And that is why we weren't able to have church yesterday. We were a little busy, hospital and all that. She was born 5 pounds 5 ounces. Yeah, she is a little itty bitty baby. She practically fits right in my hand as I hold her. So she's there with mommy at the hospital, and they're getting ready to come home tomorrow. So next week, she should be here with us, and we'll be back to Monday next week. Probably our late time because we've still got jazz band going on right there. Jay?
No, it's marching band. So it's
Marching band?
yeah,
Like tomorrow?
tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, because of no COVID, well, as many COVID restrictions, we started early.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, most of the shows and performances are over, and Grace has hers coming up starting this Thursday.
Yeah, remember
Drama
when I
club.
told you Monday that it got canceled?
Yes.
speaking of Thursday, that's when my birthday is.
Yes, and Thursday is Richard's birthday.
Because of all the
that's
plans.
not good.
And yesterday was Leah's birthday. So Leah and Richard have birthdays a few days apart. All right. So that we don't get all distracted. Okay.
And
And listen to Genesis 31,
is that number 6 or 7?
verses 1 through 7. Okay. Genesis chapter 31.
Genesis 31. Now Jacob heard that the sons of Laban were saying, Jacob has taken all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he has gained all this wealth. And Jacob saw that Laban did not regard him with favor as before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah into the field where his flock was, and said to them, I see that your father does not regard me with favor as he did before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not permit him to harm me.
Short section there.
Usually if we just finish on one camera.
Now Jacob heard that the sons of Laban were saying, the sons of Laban were envious of the hard work that Jacob was doing and the wealth that he was building for his family. And this is obviously not love, because love is patient and kind. It doesn't envy or boast, yet envy is poisonous. Once you start to go down the road of envy and people start to envy the things that other people have, it poisons other people's hearts so that they start to envy too. And envy and love cannot coexist in the same place. So the sons of Laban were envious of the things that Jacob had. And Jacob saw that Laban did not regard him with favor as before. Now, this was kind of baffling to me. If you've been following along with the story of Laban and the things that he's done to Jacob, Laban lied to him. He's been cheating him. He keeps changing the rules. He keeps wanting Jacob's money and things, and he won't let Jacob leave.
It's time for you to do it properly.
Okay. This is something that you call favor? Laban was the one that made Jacob stay around and work 7 years and then gave him the wrong bride so that he would stay longer. Laban was the one that made Jacob stay another 7 years so that he could win Rachel after he worked 7 years and got Leah when he didn't want her. So at this point, my question is, how long has Jacob stayed? Well, I know this, but the Bible hasn't told us this yet. So he did 7 years, and he was given Leah as a, as a fool, as a, not as a joke, but he tricked him. Then he worked another 7 years, and he won Rachel. Then Laban made him stay and work longer, and we're in that period of time right now that Jacob has been working and building his flock. So we're not sure exactly how long, but it's more than 14 years. And in that 14 years, he's had how many children? A lot.
9.
No.
More than
Okay.
21.
So he calls his wives in for a conference and tells them that the Lord has been watching him, and they should know that things with Laban, the only reason he's there is because God has been watching over him. The only reason that he hasn't left so far is because he was afraid that Laban would harm him, but that God has not allowed Laban to hurt him. We're going to listen to verses 8 through 16.
No, it's not.
Okay. Hit that button. Okay. Nope, not that one. Not that one. This button. Verses 8 through 16. See, this would move a lot faster if I hired somebody to do the graphics for me. But we're a small operation here, folks. I just don't have it in the budget.
If he said, the spotted shall be your wages, then all the flock bore spotted. And if he said, the striped shall be your wages, then all the flock bore striped. Thus God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. In the breeding season of the flock, I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream that the goats that mated with the flock were striped, spotted, and mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob, and I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up your eyes and see. All the goats that mate with the flocks are striped, spotted, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now arise, go out from this land, and return to the land of your kindred. Then Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there any portion or inheritance left to us in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and he has indeed devoured our money. All the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do.
Remember last chapter when we talked about the animal husbandry that Jacob was performing, where he started out with white, perfect sheep, and they gave birth to only uh, ones with spots and speckles and black goats. And Jacob thought that it was because he was cutting branches of poplar trees, and that's why the goats were having spots. But when
No.
this happens is we have a confirmation that this was all God. Right here, it confirms to us that last chapter that instead of the branches, it was all God's doing. It didn't have anything to do with sticks or branches and being cut. It was God building Jacob's wealth from Laban's flock. And this was to take whatever was Laban's away from him because he was not on God's team, not with God. He was against God and giving it to Jacob, who actually at this point trusts in God. In the breeding season of the flock, I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream. Now, before Jacob had that wage talk with Laban, where he said, I will take care of your perfect flock, and I will only take out the spotted and speckled sheep. Before Jacob even had that talk with Laban, apparently Jacob had a dream from God who told him, You're going to get the imperfections from the flock, and they will become yours. So Jacob knew that all he had to do was just set the terms of, well, I'll take all the spotted and speckled sheep, and that's what God gave to him. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. Remember, we've seen it with Abraham, where he had great wealth, and we saw it with Isaac, where he found all those wells in the desert, and here we see it with Jacob. Jacob is blessed by God, and he is protected by him. And he had nothing working for Laban, and now his wealth has grown tremendously because he's blessed. She needs an eraser, Richard. I am the God of Bethel. At Bethel is where Jacob had a dream of the ladder. It was the angels climbing up and down the ladder. Richard, sit back down. Paul? Paul? No. At Bethel is where Jacob lay down on the rock in the desert and had the dream of the ladder going to heaven and the angels climbing up and down. And Bethel meant house of God. And what that signified to Jacob was that he had access to heaven, and heaven was close to him, And it was his turning point in life. And what this reminds Jacob of is, Jacob, I was the God that appeared to you at Bethel, the house of God. The wives realize that their father Laban, is a scamster, and he doesn't really have any money for them. The wives realize that Jacob is the one that's been making the money because he's blessed, and anything that their father did have, Jacob has been building up that wealth. So they really don't have anything there at their father's house anymore. There's no reason for them to stay. Now we're going to listen to verses 17 to 24. Get this button. Gotta get this button. How am I doing, Paul?
Right.
Awesome. Fantastic.
So Jacob arose and set his sons and his wives on camels. He drove away all his livestock, all his property that he had gained, the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob tricked Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he intended to flee. He fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the Euphrates, and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. When it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsmen with him, and pursued him for 7 days, and followed close after him into the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night, and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad."
So Jacob takes his big family, his sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and his daughter Dinah, his 2 wives Leah and Rachel, and his 2 maids Bilhah and Zilpah. 12. See, 12.
I added the extra button.
I think I have only. Yeah, it'd be 17 with Jacob. Yeah. So that's just the people. Now remember, he has that big flock of speckled sheep that are imperfect.
Yeah.
And he said he had servants, and there were camels, and there were herds of cattle. So this is not a tiny traveling party.
No.
No, this is not just 2 people buddying up, walking through the desert, going home. This is a lot.
Yeah.
And these people camel up, and they start moving. Now it's over 300 miles from Haran to where Jacob wants to live or get back into the Holy Land in Gilead. So in terms of where they're traveling in Bible times, this would have taken a couple days, but as you'll see, it takes them a little bit longer because there's a lot of them. Now, in an earlier chapter, Jacob had his flock 3 days away from Laban's flock. So he was taking his speckled and spotted and off-colored sheep, and he was raising them already 3 days away from Laban. So he's already 3 days away. And as everybody's packing up to leave, Rachel goes back and she steals something from her father. It says here that she goes back in just a little throwaway verse, little tiny, she says, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. Why? Well, we don't we're not really given a concrete reason. There are four thoughts on this. One of them is she worshipped these gods and she didn't want to leave them with her father. She wanted to have an idol to worship while she was on the road or where she was going to. Another explanation is she knew that her father had used divination before, and she didn't want him to use this divination to be able to tell that they had left. Now, remember, Laban comes up to Jacob and says, I have used my witchcraft to tell that you are blessed by God. Everybody else looks at Jacob and by all the stuff that he had, they knew that he was blessed by God, but Laban used witchcraft. Well, maybe Rachel didn't want him using this divination. Maybe the idols were used as the signification of the property being passed through the family. So maybe she thought she had a right to claim some of Laban's property if she took the idols with her, or it was revenge for her father, who was a scam artist and an all-around bad person. Maybe it was all four of them. We don't know. It's not explained, and it's a little tiny throwaway verse, but it holds a lot of weight to the story. This does come up later, and we wonder why she does it. We don't know why she takes these household idols, but she does. Oh, I thought I had put more there. And Jacob tricked Laban by not telling him that he intended to flee. When was the last time you told somebody that you wanted to get away from, that you were fleeing from? Hey, you have me locked up here, and you want me to stay here, but I'm going to go ahead and leave now. No, you run. That's not tricking them.
That's
Yeah, that's pretty silly, isn't it?
That's just stupid.
Yeah.
yeah, that's just
This
flipping stupid.
this verse always struck me as strange. But what the Bible is trying to get here is Jacob shouldn't have needed to fear. He had God's protection on his side. He should have just boldly walked up to Laban and said, I am protected by God Almighty, and I'm leaving. Adios, amigos.
Yeah.
Right.
Adios, amigo.
Amigo.
No, there were a bunch of them. It was Laban and his sons. Yeah.
When he was talking to one guy.
When he was talking to the group. Nosotros. Yeah, right. Anyway,
That's weird.
it doesn't matter. Jacob flees from Haran and heads toward Gilead. Now, Gilead. Okay. So, they would have. So here we have the kingdom of Israel. The land of Gilead was over here,
What that land is Syria?
up here.
No, I mean like that big chunk of land.
Here? Here.
Yeah.
That's actually Jordan.
Close enough.
Yeah, this would be modern day Jordan, but this is actually Gilead. This is the land of Gilead in the Bible.
That's big.
It's not big.
Not
What
too
was
huge.
that Jerusalem?
It actually did used to belong to the kingdom of Israel because it went from Dan to Beersheba. It was supposed to go all the way down here into Kadesh. And it was supposed to go from the Mediterranean all the way out here into Gilead. So this was all the original promised land. So you see where Jerusalem is, and there's Bethel and Ai. It's there. This was actually part of it too, but the
Doesn't
Philistines,
say
Gilead. But anyway, he's going here.
Well, it's kind of hard to like see through the
Names?
Oh, it's actually.
that corner.
We run into some of those other, the Ramath, Gilead, Hebron, and anyway, he's going to Gilead, east of where Israel proper is today. Now Laban is told on the third day that Jacob and his family have left, and he pursues and he catches up with them in 7 days. Now we kind of alluded to why this happened. I mean, we know that Jacob has a 6-day head start, but because his travel party is large and slow, and Laban is going out with a hunting party just to catch him, he's able to go much faster. So he catches right up with Jacob and gets right up to him. But Laban is given a divine dream that says, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. So God comes right to Laban and says, whatever you were thinking you were going to do, don't do it. And what this tells us is Laban was probably thinking of harming Jacob. So he says, don't go there and do that because he's under my protection. We will listen to verses 25 through 34. Verses 25 to 34.
34. Destruction.
And Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen pitched tents in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what have you done, that you have tricked me and driven away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and trick me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs, with tambourine and lyre? And why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. And now you have gone away because you longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what I have that is yours, and take it. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 female servants. But he did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the household gods, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. Laban felt all about the tent, but did not find them.
Thief.
Yeah, there's some thieving going on there.
What?
Right, Paul? There's some thievery.
No, like Harry and Marv from Home Alone.
No.
Yes, like
No.
Harry and Marv from Home Alone.
No.
Now, are they wet bandits or the sticky bandits?
The Wet Bandit.
Actually, they were both. Depends on what movie you're watching. So, driven away my daughters like captives of the sword. First, Laban says, it kind of looks to me like you kidnapped my daughters from me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs. And then he says, but maybe you should have come to me and told me, and we would have had a celebration. And then he says, it is in my power to do you harm. Then he moves on to threatening. Now,
Wait, so the whatever his name is threatened him?
Laban threatened, yes. So does anybody think that if Jacob went to Laban and said, I'm going to leave now, that Laban would have said, okay, and we're going to have a feast and a big party, and I'll send you off with a piñata? And, no, probably not, huh? This Laban guy's
He's
pretty...
probably going to try and make him stay there more.
Well, that's all he's done so far, right?
Stupid.
So Laban starts with shame. He tries to make him feel bad. You're taking my daughters like they're captives from me, even though they're legally married to you. Then he lies about having a party with him. He says, oh, if you'd come to me, we would have had a big party. And then he moves on to what his real motivation is. If you tried to leave me, I would have killed you. So this Laban guy, don't trust the thing he says. He's not a good character. He's not a fool. So he starts with the thing about kidnapping. And he looks around and He doesn't look like anybody believes him. And then he says, but we would have celebrated and we would have had a party. And he looks at everybody and he's not getting a reaction out of them. So he reads his room and he goes, well, nope, I'm just going to threaten you because that's what I do. I have more power than you. I would have taken you out.
Actually, Jacob has more power than him because
Because he has God. Sorry.
why couldn't I extend what I was going to say?
Is that what you were going to say?
That was
Yeah.
mean.
Very good.
Whoops.
Yes.
Hmm.
So maybe he did just want to say his goodbye and give hugs and kisses. Maybe that's what Laban wanted to do all along. No, good job, Paul. No, he didn't. Laban states that God talked to him and warned him about doing anything to Jacob. And this is how Jacob knows that it's safe to talk to Laban. He knows that God is involved and he knows that God will protect him. Laban knows why Jacob left because he wanted to go back to the land, his homeland, and to all his family. But he says, why did you steal from me? Now, Jacob doesn't know anything about the stealing. Remember, that was Rachel on her own. I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. Yeah, that's probably what he would have done, right? That Laban's quite the bad character, right? Laban, after all, so far has been an honest, upstanding, and trustworthy guy, right? That's not one bit.
No.
No.
Now Jacob says, whoever you find with these idols will die. He didn't know that Rachel had stole them. She went on her own and did it. Remember we talked about the reasons? And maybe it was because she wanted to worship them. Maybe it was because she wanted to get back at her father. Maybe it was the property deed thing. Maybe she didn't want him practicing his divination. Also, remember that Rachel is Jacob's favorite wife. He does play favorites, folks, which is something the Bible tells us we shouldn't be doing, right? When it comes to kids or wives. Laban searches and he doesn't find his idols. And then it says that Rachel sits on them. Ow. I'm picturing that she just put them inside the saddle and hid them with blankets, but maybe she. Now in prison we'd call this boofing, but and people actually do things like that. But we'll just gloss right over that. That's a story for another time. I don't think that she sat on them and hid them that way. I don't think she could fit that many household idols in there.
No.
Now, has Jacob unwittingly condemned his favorite wife to death for stealing? Please stay tuned for the next episode where we will find out. No?
You're like a YouTube video.
No.
Actually, let's start. That actually started with when they used to do shows on the radio. What will happen to our protagonist as he goes up? Well, we'll listen to it right now.
I know that. Why do they always
Right
do
to the
that?
guillotine.
It's called a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but it's annoying.
yeah.
It's annoying. I hate
So,
it.
do you think Jacob condemned his favorite wife to death?
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned while we explore. We will listen to that right now, folks. We will listen to
Gosh
that
darn it.
right now. Oop, no, not this one. Okay. Are we ready?
No.
Of course you are, because you want to know.
And she said to her father, Let not my lord be angry, that I cannot rise before you, for the way of women is upon me. So he searched, but did not find the household gods. Then Jacob became angry and berated Laban. Jacob said to Laban, What is my offense? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? For you have felt to all my goods. What have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten the rams of your flocks. What was torn by wild beasts, I did not bring to you, or the loss of it myself. From my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the cold by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been on my side, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God saw my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night.
This is an interesting little passage here. I like what happened. What's a heptagon? Oh. I'm gonna go with a rectangle. Good luck. Oh, okay. See? There you go, everybody. You got that right. Okay.
Stay tuned.
Just
All right. Now we're gonna continue the episode. What happens to Rachel? Well, actually, what happened was it was my mistake. It wasn't supposed to be a cliffhanger. I was actually supposed to put verse 35 with the last section, but it turned into a cliffhanger. We had a little bit of fun with that, so maybe I'll do that more.
No.
No?
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yaha.
so what happens is now Rachel is menstruating. It is the way of women. That's what she says to her father. I can't stand up because the way of women is with me. This is just a Bible euphemism for the things that women do that men don't, and it's bleeding. Anyway, I'm not spending long time here. Period.
Yes.
That's a joke. And when you're older, you'll catch that.
I
And
know what that means. I know.
moving along. To me, this is similar to the circumcision chapter where I had to talk about getting cut. You don't know people's nip tip status, but anyway, that's how she hides the idol. She lies about it. So that means that Rachel is deceitful like her father Laban and her husband Jacob, who has fooled several people so far and scammed them out of things. So it just kind of it's going to run in the family, I guess. But yeah, we're going to move right along. Then Jacob flips his angry switch. He goes, "What did I do? Why are you chasing after me? If God told you not to harm me and not to come after me, I've been nothing but obedient to you. I've done everything you asked me." And then we're actually told how long he's been there at Laban's house. It's been 20 years. He worked 14 to win his wives. And could you click in that, please? I can only imagine what that sounds like over there.
Sorry, I'm trying to drink my water.
You always have a question about it.
I'm not cursing it.
See?
It's I'm moving.
Now that time it didn't make any clicking.
because the air.
Yeah, it's your air. Okay.
Her hair.
So
The
no,
air.
not hair, air. So Jacob stays with Laban for 20 years. 14 he does because of the trick that Laban played on him and gave him Leah instead of Rachel the first 7 years. Then he had to work another 7 years to win Rachel. And then he worked 6 years because he didn't have anything. So 20 full years Jacob has slaved under Laban. Laban would have sent him away with nothing because he's not a good person. What was torn by wild beasts I did not bring to you. So Jacob went out and he took care of the things that were Laban's, and he didn't ask for Laban's help even when something went wrong. the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac. Now, I never noticed that before until this time that I read through that the fear of Isaac, yeah, the fear of Isaac is actually capitalized, meaning that this is supposed to be a name for God. And then I did some research and found that this is the only chapter in the whole Bible that this type got. Fear of Isaac, Upahad Yishak.
What the heck is that?
Fear of Isaac. Upahad Yishak. Now there have been several titles that we've been hearing for God. Elohim,
El Shaddai.
El Shaddai, Yahweh, let's see, El Elyon, El Roy.
Yep.
So in here, the only place that it's used is Upahad Yishak.
That's a
And
new
I
one.
never noticed that before this reading of this chapter. We have a little German. Mein Eigentum, which is German for my property.
Oh,
Mine.
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 So you'll see a second here why I added that. But we're going with all kinds of languages today. Mein Eigentum. All right. Now we're going to listen verses 43 to the end, verse 55. So stick with us here while we finish off the chapter. And this one wasn't a cliffhanger, but maybe I'll try to add some in next time.
No. Yeah. So big
Then Laban answered and said to Jacob, The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day for these my daughters, or for their children whom they have borne? Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his kids, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap. And they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galeed. Laban said, This heap is a witness between you and me today. Therefore he named it Galeed and Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. If you oppress my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. Then Laban said to Jacob, See this heap and the pillar which I have set between you and me? This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and you will not pass this pillar to me to do harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac, and Jacob offered a sacrifice in the hill country, and called his kinsmen to eat bread. They ate bread, and spent the night in the hill country. Early in the morning Laban arose, and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban departed, and returned home.
So that's the last we hear from Laban.
Yay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mein Eigentum. So, Laban says, the daughters are mine, their children are mine, the flocks are mine, everything is mine, 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 mine. See, I threw in the German in there. Mine. Mine. Yeah. Is this a twisted view that Laban has? Yes, very much so. There have been lawful contracts that he's made with Jacob. You know, if you work for me 7 years, I'll give you Rachel, and he gave him Leah. And then you work 7 more years, I'll give you Rachel, and he did. But you can't leave yet. And then there were births that those lawful daughters had to Jacob. And Jacob had all this hard work, and he built all these flocks. So Laban's twisted. He thinks everything belongs to him, but it doesn't. You're going to run into people like this in your life. You know, they're not good news. You know, just what life is. Life isn't fair.
Oh, that's
Now they're getting ready to strike up a covenant because Laban sees the writing on the wall that he's in the promised land and he doesn't belong there. And Jacob, no matter what Jacob does, Jacob is always blessed. And Laban knows that he's not going to be able to get anything more out of him. But this covenant that they build has nothing to do with them cutting animals in half. So, even though those are fun, where they chop animals and they walk between them, this time we're not doing that. Something different. They build a pillar and a heap of stones. So they call these, now Laban calls this Yegar Sahadutha, which is Aramaic, or the language that they would have spoken in Syria. And in Hebrew, Jacob calls it Galeed. So Hebrew is definitely an easier language than Aramaic. Galeed. And they actually mean the same thing in those two languages. Heap of witnesses or heap of testimony. Basically, what it's saying is these two things, this pillar and this heap of stones, witness that we have a treaty together, and that means that God is watching us. Now, another word that Jacob uses is Mizpah, which means witness as well, but it's witness that God is watching over us. Basically, what it is, it's the boundary stone. It's the boundary between the promised land and where Laban could not cross over to get to where Jacob was. They were setting the boundaries of their territory. And Laban says, let the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, we actually didn't know what God Nahor served. Nahor was Abraham's brother and Laban's father. We don't even know if Laban had any type of belief because he was still practicing divination with stone idols. Yeah, he was a pagan. So we have no idea what religion Nahor practiced, but I just thought it was strange that Laban says that God was the God of Nahor. Oh, I guess that's all I had. Mein Eigentum.
That's it. It's over. Goodbye.
We will finish off on a hymn called Amazing Grace.
Oh, it's amazing. No,
Oh.
yes, I have.
Can we not do this, please?
Not right now.
Not during church.
Oh,
All right, let's see if this actually works this time.
awful. Crash.
There we go. Oh. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. For some reason, that recording doesn't have the next verse, but when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Now, Grace, when you were a little baby and you were crying and couldn't calm down, I used to put your head right here and I would sing that song and you would calm right down. Okay. Now, there is a song that I used to sing for Hannah, and it's not on any of the CDs, so I'm going to have to relearn how to play it on the piano.
Oh.
And once I do, I promise I'll play that song during church, okay?
I know, Hannah.
Yeah?
We have to make one. We have to make one for
Leah? Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah. So, thank you everybody for joining us.
There's another composing a piece.
I'll just find a hymn. I'm not composing anything.
No, basically, we need to make one for you.
We need to pick one for you.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for joining us. We hope that you got something out of the lesson this week about Jacob and Laban and the struggles that they had. Thank you, Lord, for bringing Leah to us. And we're all excited to meet her tomorrow, aren't we, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will happen tomorrow. And we're thankful that, like I said, everybody joined us. Have a great week.
And goodbye.